Next up, we got heavyweights throwing down as Tuivasa comes in at minus 180. He takes on short notice Sutherland, who comes in at plus 155. Now, we see a whole lot of red. They're not just a red corner for Tuivasa, but a lot of red because he is on a 6-fight losing streak right now. Most recently, coming up short against Taliesin Teixeira back in January in a very sloppy back-and-forth fight, but it was very obvious that Teixeira won the first 2 rounds, a lot with his grappling and his damage, and he was slowing down a lot in that 3rd round, and Tuivasa was able to muster up a lot of big shots, but he was very gassed himself and ultimately wasn't able to pull off the upset. But Tuivasa has really been struggling. I believe the last time that he was able to get a win was that 5-fight winning streak he had going into his September 2023 matchup against Cyril Gane. And since then, it's just been nothing but losses. He was finished 4 straight times, and then the last 2 times he lost by decision. He did have that split decision loss against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but I believe that was an egregious scorecard in favor of Tuivasa, so much so that judge actually got relieved of his duties for the rest of the fight night. But that was one that I thought was pretty clear that Rozenstruik outstruck Tuivasa, picked him apart from distance, and really didn't struggle in that fight at all. Then the Taliesin Teixeira fight, very sloppy, low-level fight, but it showed that Tuivasa still had some holes in his grappling game, which a guy like Teixeira was able to take full advantage of. Tuivasa really does not seem fully invested in the mixed martial arts game. It seems like he's doing a great job in terms of marketing himself. He's obviously a fan favorite. He's very popular. The UFC wouldn't give him another shot after losing 6 straight fights to try to get back in the win column, but they know he's a fan favorite. They know that he'll bring a little bit of pull to his cards as well, especially whenever they take place down under, and that's pretty much the reason why he's getting another fight this weekend. But going through his Instagram page, you can see how invested he is in trying to set himself up for his post-fight career, right? He's invested in weird sports. He's invested in, different businesses. I think he had a clothing line or something like that, a drink line of some sort. I don't remember exactly what, but he has invested into a bunch of different stuff outside of the cage. And again, when he steps foot in the cage, he knows that he can rely on his knockout power enough that he might even not have to train all that hard, just train enough so that he can make the weight, because he often comes in at that 265 limit. But he has big knockout power. He has a good calf kick as well that has helped him kind of slow opponents down. But we've seen his form as of late, right? He's very much struggling against guys that are taking the sport a lot more seriously than him. Now, he is taken on somebody who's taken the sport a lot more seriously than him, and Louis Sutherland, who steps in for Sean Sharaf, who unfortunately was forced to pull out due to, I think it was a broken nose or something like that. But Sutherland steps in, just several weeks after he got knocked out by Brando Pericic, who actually fights in the next matchup. But that was a fight where Sutherland tried getting into his wrestling, couldn't get Pericic to the ground, and he ended up suffering as he got knocked out in less than 2 minutes there. That was on the back end of that submission loss that he suffered in his UFC debut against Walter Walker, where, Walker gets to his heel hook game and Sutherland insta-taps in that spot. But Sutherland is not as bad as, the 2 losses make him look. He's a regional heavyweight champion, but a fringe UFC guy. He's well-rounded, has a decent enough wrestling game, decent enough striking game. His cardio is not horrible as long as he's able to fight a fight on his pace and his, type of style. He's well-trained. I believe he has the same coach as Mario Pinto, if I'm not mistaken. Stuart Austin, I believe, has invested a lot of time into him. He's also been training, I believe, at Manchester Top Team every now and then. He's a solid fighter. But he's just average all around. If he can't get to his game, he will kind of break a little bit, and I think that's why he finds himself as the underdog in this matchup. But he's experienced. He's fought a lot of different fighters, 15 pro fights. He's 32 years old. He's semi-athletic for the type of frame that he brings to the table, but it really needs to be him dictating the pace of fights for him to have really any success inside the cage. Now, here against Tuivasa, I think at this stage in Tuivasa's career, it's never Tuivasa, right? Even at minus 180, I get Sutherland has lost in less than 2 minutes in both of his UFC fights, but this is a winnable fight for him, right? I think Tuivasa is a lot easier to take to the ground than Brando Pericic is. Pericic has taken his MMA career way more seriously than Tuivasa and has built a good enough takedown wrestling game so that he can keep fights in the standing realm and showcase his knockout power. Sure, Tuivasa might have similar knockout power, has a good kicking game as well, but I feel like Sutherland should be able to utilize his speed advantage and eventually his grappling advantage to get Tuivasa to the ground and really wear him down, similar to what Thaleson Teixeira did. Teixeira is a guy that utilizes his physicality a lot to get a lot of success in his game, right? Like he's tall as hell, very strong, very bullying, and I feel like Sutherland can kind of utilize a similar approach. I think he's slightly technically superior to Thaleson, especially with implementing a wrestling game and takedown game, and I feel like he can do that here against Tuivasa to really grind certain periods of this out and maybe even take away that knockout power of Tuivasa. Now, it's absolutely possible Tuivasa lands a big shot and puts Sutherland away, but I think this will be an easier fight for Sutherland to get to his wrestling game than the Pericic fight was. So, I know Sutherland is a low-level fighter, but in 2026, so is Tuivasa. So at plus 155, I do not mind taking an underdog shot on Sutherland. It's possible he engages in the pocket and tries to knock Tuivasa out, but I would hope that he goes out there and tries to at least get to his grappling game a little bit, and I think that would lead to him grinding this fight out. So I'm going to go Sutherland here, and Sutherland by decision.